What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen, and you're listening to Sales Funnel Radio. I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio. What's up, guys? Hopefully you're liking that new intro. I've had several of you guys reach out actually and say that you like it. And so anyways, that means a lot. I take a long time to write those kinds of scripts when I know that we're going to hear them a billion times probably. But I wanted to create it more of a journey, anyway, I've talked about that a little bit in the past. So hey, I wanted to share with you a little bit more about my webinar and what I've been doing to it. Did a lot of stuff this week. It's been a crazy week. There were 2 days this week where I almost stayed up a full 24 hours just getting stuff done and working on it and the different aspects that I needed to crank out. It was ridiculous, and I do not recommend that. In fact, I always think it's kind of weird when people are like, yeah, I'm hashtag the hustle, and they stay up 24 hours all the time, but it just wrecks your next day anyway. So that never makes sense to me. Be smart with your health. Don't do that too often. Anyway. So, hey, what I want to share with you though is more about the webinar and the actual stats. And I automated it. I already automated it. I know that a lot of people, will probably ask me, Steven, you always say to do it for like 7 months. Well, here's the thing is that before I actually launched the webinar, I tested it like crazy. I knew the messages were going to work. I knew the offer was going to work. It was all already tested before I actually pushed the button. You know what I mean? And so I didn't start from complete scratch when I started doing my live webinars. I did it maybe 12 times. And that final time I was still using the original script. And so what I'm doing, here's the thing, guys, you got to understand this, okay? This is how I look at the webinar, okay? This is the 3 phases of launching any product, okay? The 3 phases. And I didn't really realize that this is what I do, or even that Russell, this is what he does, but this is what it is, okay? We first, this is 3 spots, okay? We first figure out a sales message. Understand that I said sales message. I did not say offer, okay? I did not say funnel, okay? Now, 99% of the time, Russell already knows what the sales message is going to be. He's done it so well, he's done it for so long that he understands right from the get-go without really thinking about it. He kind of starts from this place of sales message, okay? Meaning, if he can sell it, then we'll go make the offer, right? And he already starts with those places. Okay, so this is how I did it with my webinar, okay? My webinar, phase number 1 is all about creating the sales message. I don't give a crap about the actual product or the offer until I know that I can sell the thing, right? Does that make sense? And I know a lot of people say, well, duh, Steven. Well, most of us don't do that, though. We actually turn around and we're like, hey, what am I going to sell? Wrong question. The question is, how will I sell it? Okay? And the problem is that when you start with an offer, when you actually start with the offer, the problem is that you become tethered by the offer when you're creating the sales message. Does that make sense? You create restrictions. You're not free, you're not liquid, you're not fluid to create whatever sales message you want. So what I have been doing, right, for a solid probably year before I actually launched my webinar, what I did is I actually went and I started testing the sales message, right? I created an entire second podcast show about it, right? And I just started dropping out the stories, and the ones that really resonated, I kind of took note of that, right? And I was like, that's the one that did it over here. Oh, that's interesting. That's the story that did it over here. Interesting. Oh, wow, they really like this one, and they hated that one, right? And I started testing sales message, right? Also known as story, okay? And when we get down to, when we actually get the story down, when we get the sales message down, right? Whatever it is that gets people's butts out of their chairs and their wallets and credit card in your hand, then you create an offer that fulfills the promises that you made in the sales message. Does that make sense? When you actually find the sales message that gets somebody off their butt and gets their wallet in your hand, then you create the offer that fulfills whatever that sales message promised. When you do it the other way and you create an offer and then the sales message and then the sales thing, you are tethered, right? In your mind, you got this thing, well, my product doesn't do this. Okay, well, stop thinking about that. Figure out what it is that gets people into action. People are inherently lazy, right? What is the thing? And if you found out, oh my gosh, look, this is the thing that gets people into action. Sweet. Then you create. Does that make sense? So step number 1, sales message. Step number 2 is then the offer. Okay. And both of them stem off of belief. Okay. Both of them stem off of belief. At the very, very bottom, the very, very last one, that's when I start building a funnel. And that's when I build the delivery mechanism that will serve up those two things. Funny enough, though, people used to do the exact opposite. They build a funnel. They're like, hey, I want an e-com funnel. And they think of it in terms of funnels. That's not how it works. You think of it in terms of what are you trying to deliver, right? And you go and you put together a funnel. If you do that first, then you're building out the offer. Then you figure out how to actually sell the thing. Super scary, right? Right. And so yes, I'm already automating it, but it's because of the 3 steps that I take. You do it the other way around and you say, hey, what's the sales message? And as part of that, you're figuring out where the traffic is. Okay. What's step number 1? What's the sales message? What gets people off the butt? It's like, I know I bring up this example a lot, but it's because it's true, right? Before Tim Ferriss even finished writing the book, he was out there testing headlines and titles for the book, and he would test tons of headlines. And he would spend a little money, like $20 on tons of different, hey, $20 for this headline, $20 for this title, $20 for this title, and he would go test it, and whatever one they liked, that's what he named it. And there wasn't even a book written half the time. He was just seeing what people clicked on. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, is you figure out the sales message. Like, what is it that gets people off the butt? They are so insatiably connected to what it is that you have promised. You've broken and rebuilt their belief patterns. You've helped them see the world in a brand new way, and you are now served up to give them an offer. And it's not there yet. That's okay, because now it's safe. It's safe. It's worth your time to go create that actual offer. Does that make sense? Sales message number 1, offer number 2, and then you create the funnel. And then as soon as I've done that, I go back to sales message. Then I go back to offer, tweak that. Then I go back to funnel and I tweak that. Then I start all the way back over again at sales message. So the reason why, guys, is because I've been following my process. And my process is first figure out the sales message, which I did, okay? And since the beginning of the year, we had like 50 grand in like hot traffic sales. People are just like super hungry for it, right? So the first month we did like 100 grand. The second month we did like 25. And it's mostly because I didn't really focus on selling it that much. I was just building the offer that I knew was selling. My numbers were looking great. Everything was looking fantastic. And then the first 2 weeks here, I actually haven't really been selling it that much. And the reason is because I had it down for about 2 weeks because I was going and automating everything, right? First I was talking about the sales message, then I built the offer, now I've been tweaking the funnel. And it's almost been like month by month by month. Like since Funnel Hacking Live I'm getting on my plane here in an hour. I got to get out of here. I was like, I just got a podcast one time though. I'm excited to talk to you guys. I woke up at 2:30, hardly being able to sleep. So excited. I'm that much of a nerd, yes, and I will admit it. But anyway, it'll probably be really April before we actually start to get real traffic turned on towards it. But what I'm excited about is this, guys. I'm so pumped. I went and I actually turned on a little bit of traffic, and my numbers are holding true. Meaning, I still I was nervous that automating the webinar would drop some numbers. Right, because people can sense that it's not live. The product is freaking awesome. That's never usually the issue. It's usually not that, hey, can we make something that's sexy? Right? It usually does not have anything to do with the actual offer. It's a formula. The way you get to the offer is a formula, and you follow that formula, you get to the offer. Great. You might tweak it a little bit here and there, but the real thing that you are trying to figure out, and the real place that people will struggle and suck it up on, is the actual message part. It's the belief part. It's the part that and how to. Not number 1, just create it, but how to glean it from the submarket they're trying to sell to. Okay. And so when I figured out like, oh my gosh, I've nailed the beliefs. I know I've nailed the beliefs. That's one of the reasons it sold so well. And I was selling that puppy far before I was actually even ready. And they knew that. There's no sleight of hand thing going on there. They knew that. They were getting beta access to certain other bonuses that I had in there. And then when I created the actual offer, now the offer's actually done, then I went and now I'm focusing on the funnel. Okay, what's the funnel that gives me back a little more of my time? I'm telling you, running 3 webinars a week Holy smokes, that is so much work as a solo one-man guy, one-man show going on right now. Oh my gosh. I tried that 3 webinar a week thing I was talking about for just a little bit, and I was like, there's no way. I could do it if everything else in my business was set up, but it's not, and I'm the only guy running it. You know what I mean? I'm excited. Just barely had my first employee coming on over, so he's swinging on over, and he's gonna get, he's handling support, and he's my assistant. He's also handling a lot of frontline relationships, and he's wearing a lot of hats, which he's pumped about. I'm pumped about. He's not gonna be over for another month. I was like, I gotta automate this thing. So, anyways. The reason I automated it is because my registration rates were about 52%, which is really, really awesome, and even went up as high as 62% for a while, and 62% opt-in rates on the webinar page. And I think I know how I did it. It was really, really cool. I had many engagement things all over it. My show-up rates were 7 to 13%, really low, right? Really low. And I've talked about in previous episodes how I believe it's because the time in front of my webinar was way too long. Meaning I did a webinar, especially for who I was selling to, right? I can barely remember 3 days out. I don't remember what I did 3 days ago, right? And if I'm asking someone to register for a webinar 3 days ago and it's not till tomorrow, like, I'm gonna forget. You know what I mean? It needs to be sooner than that. So I'm shrinking the time from when they register to the time the webinar actually happens, right? I did that for a while, and it really helped. And I was like, whoa. And then on that back end, my cart close sequence was usually 3 days. I was like, that seems way too long. So I went down to 24 hours, and there was a big spike in sales. I didn't change anything else. I was like, what the heck? Just because there's a little more pressure. But it was almost a little bit too fast. Like, some people didn't have a chance to actually go watch the replay they wanted to. So then I'm out to a 36-hour replay sequence now. Okay? So that part I could keep, but what I decided to do, right? So I was getting anywhere from 15 to 25% close rate, which is freaking huge, guys. That's awesome. Okay, freaking huge. Okay, 15 to 25% close rate is a multi-million-dollar webinar, which I know it will be, and it's already shown signs that it's going to be, which is awesome. So the one number that I needed to change, which I know I've gone through before, is that show-up rate. Well, when we automate webinars, the average show-up rate is like 85%. It's like 90%. I mean, because it's happening in the next few minutes. That's how they work. That's why they work. Next webinar happening in the next 15 minutes. What? So I made a top of the every 15-minute webinar. So every 15 minutes, that webinar starts over again. And it's really, really awesome. And so I'm super pumped, guys, because yesterday really had the first time to really turn it on. Got traffic sent to it, and my registration rate, I'm so pumped, was 46%, so it only dropped like 10%. But the show-up rate was it was almost 100%. It was freaking huge. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I was so stoked. And then we made sales at a close rate of 14.62%. Guys, that's huge. That means I can now drive tons of traffic. It means the rest of the numbers are working. It means that it's I can celebrate as if I made $1 million already, because it means it will, unless I really, really jack it up. And I've got some awesome silver bullets up my sleeve that I actually can't tell you about. Some cool things for traffic that I'm very, very pumped about, getting hooked up in several ways, working that Dream 100, which we do. I will never stop doing that system. And that's what's been going on. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of accounting before I see a lot of you guys. There's so many things in my mind I want to share with you guys that have happened this last little bit. Things that I'm learning, more clarity to things I've been understanding, and teach you how I've been... Why did I feel comfortable leaving a job when I really had no business set up? You know what I mean? Like, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds so crazy. No one, I don't know. That's mere madness, almost, honestly, to go out and do that. But it's because of these certain things that I knew and I learned and I saw, the patterns that I saw, that saved my emotional sanity and said, yes, you can go ahead and leave your job and it's going to be fine because of these signals and signs, right? Number one, it was testing the sales message, because people were knocking my door down. I mean, I think I have probably close to it's several hundred Facebook message requests asking about my MLM product. And I barely have gotten to a spot where I can even respond to them and say, like, hey, let's get over here and, you can check it out here. when I saw frankly, the other podcast audience is far more interactive with me than this one is. When I saw that, when I saw that, when I even just talked about, there were certain buzz phrases I learned that they liked, and when I would say it, they'd go nuts, and they'd look for a product that was the one I was saying, and there wasn't one out there. And I was like, sweet, I can totally do that. And I went out. Does that make sense? So all these little signals and signs, and I had a beta group that I brought through. They didn't even have the actual product. I was just teaching them the concepts, and they were going nuts. I had a beta product overall, not just group, like that I launched about a year prior to. And I saw the ridiculous response from it. It was insane. And I took that off once I saw the issues with it, which was great. So then I knew more of what to actually toss it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff that I did, a lot of groundwork. It was not just like I jump out the airplane and build the parachute while I'm falling, but I still had all the materials laid out, you know what I mean, before I jumped. Does that make sense? The groundwork was still there. And funny enough, the ground never really comes when you jump out of the plane. Usually not. When you jump out of a plane without a parachute, in that metaphor. Please don't do that in real life. Anyways, guys, I'm really, really excited. It is, I woke up at 2:30 this morning. Like I said, just super excited. I had a hard time going back to sleep. I got a mastermind that we're running tomorrow with a bunch of you. Very excited. I still got to figure out more what I'm going to teach there. But at those, I feel like highest level stuff is to, like, I'll teach my coolest stuff. But I love doing like one-on-one Q&A and like taking people's businesses a little bit further. It is like, if I could do that the rest of my career, I would do that, I think. Mixed with like one or two other product styles that I know I want to go after. So anyways, guys, I'm so excited. When you get to Funnel Hacking Live, take notes. I could not believe the first time I went. I bootstrapped my whole way there. I gave more to get there than the majority of the people who were there. And I sacrificed my face off. I took 52 pages of notes, very detailed notes. I still have them. They're right next to me. And that last night when I did not have a place to stay, I stayed up. And after I applied to ClickFunnels, I stayed up and I started going piece by piece through all the notes that I took because I wanted to solidify them in my brain. I should go through those. There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, so I am take notes, and I was appalled how many people left their notebooks that they gave them on the chairs. And I was like, what? Do you know what I just learned? Did you just like sleep through all that? That was ridiculous. I'm finishing my marketing degree. That's where I was at the time. I'm finishing my marketing degree. That was better than all of it. The first session. And I was like, what? Take notes. Anyway, something that happens when you write it. Anyway, so guys, I'm very, very excited. Please come with an open mind. And if you're hearing this after the fact, that's totally fine. Like anything you learned from any guru that you've realized that you need to study from, take notes from them. One of the things I've learned recently as well is that it's good to read deeply on a broad spectrum. I should say, it's good to read on a broad spectrum from lots of different, and learn from lots of different gurus, lots of different people that are out there. However, I found that just really deep diving with only one or two people, and you study what they've done deeply, right? Very successful individuals. Obviously, the one that I'm going after is Russell, obviously, okay? I study him very deeply. And all of his strategies, all of the pitch strategies, all the things that, and I figure out who that is for you. Study that person and their work very deeply. And stick with them, okay? Don't just go so broad. Broad is good, but choose a few characters particularly and go deep with them. And when you do that, you learn a lot more of the patterns inside that, just like I share on this podcast. The only reason I can do that is because I've studied the heck out of his scripts. You know what I mean? I know his scripts. So when I see him change it up, I'm like, wait, what did he do? And then I see the connection and I see the pieces and I'm like, oh, did anyone else see it? And lots of times, no. Because we're all studying this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, this guy. Okay, that's great. That's great. But especially at first, like to really super advance your progression in this game, man, just go deep with one or two people. You know what I mean? And really get to know them, really get to know their mind, not just their works and their materials that they've put out. Anyway, great stuff, guys. Super excited. I'm writing a book. That's awesome. We made the outline already, and it's freaking incredible. And if I say so myself, we just barely launched the affiliate program, which, by the way, if you are interested at all, would love to have you. We're going to launch a sweet affiliate contest here in about 2 weeks. It's so cool. Basically, I figured out the math to basically buy anyone a new iMac and a new iPhone and basically all the Apple products, because I like Steve Jobs. Rest his soul. And anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, guys, and I just I've had a ton of fun with it. And anyway, excited to see you guys. Remember the secret phrase. I filmed the special stuff yesterday for those of you guys who remember the secret phrase and walk up to me. So anyways, guys, thanks so much. That's kind of an accounting of the last 2 months of my webinar and me automating it and why. And I will certainly continue to do live webinars for sure. But as I finish this funnel side now I'm going to go back to step number 1. And it's time for me to tweak my slides. And I know what to change. And I've got some cool other things that I'm doing that I can tell you about a little later. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. And go crush it. Bye. Boom. Thanks for listening. Hey, please remember to rate and subscribe. Hey, you want me to speak at your next event or mastermind? Let me know what I can share that would be most valuable by going to stevejlarsen.com and book my time now.